because this is just epidemiological research design. So, let's go muna po sa objectives ng topic natin, okay? By the end of this module, the learner should be able to, number one, to describe the epidemiologic approach, okay? The different types of your epidemiologic approach. Number two, to differentiate the types of epidemiologic designs in terms of objective, okay? The presence and absence of manipulation. Kapag sinabi nating manipulation, is that research design can alter, okay, or redefine, okay, the outcomes of a study. Okay, also we have the exposure of variable, direct inquiry, and assessment of time of points. Your epidemiological study. First, let's go to the study designs of your epidemiology. Take note, guys, that an epidemiological designs is built, okay, to facilitate the generation of knowledge and critical for description, for disease prevention, control, and public health promotion. Okay, most of our epidemiologists uses epidemiological design for them to investigate the health to investigate health phenomena in a certain community. Now, before we go to the main chapter, I would like to discuss first the importance of your epidemiological designs. Okay, can I call to Sir Mark Gerald to share what is the importance of an epidemiological design for epidemiologists? Sir Gerald. Sir Isaac, can you share to us, or on your own opinion, what is the importance and the purpose or function of an epidemiological design for epidemiologists?
Good morning, sir. Naririnig po ba?
Yes po, sir.
Based on my opinion po, yung different epidemiological designs po kasi is such, para po siyang steering wheel na nagde-drive dun sa mismong study or sa mismong study po. Yung para po siyang nagiging if I'm not mistaken, para po siyang nagiging pathway ng ating study po.
Okay, thank you, Sir Isaac. Okay, now we have here the functions, importance of an epidemiological design. Okay, sir, bakit po natin alamin muna kung anong importance ng isang epidemiological design, okay? For us to know, okay, para mas maintindihan natin ito for the next topic, okay? Number one, sabi dito, is for identification of patterns and trends. Take note, guys, that the identification of patterns and trends, epidemiological designs help epidemiologists in identifying patterns and trends in variations in the occurrence of a disease, okay? In a health-related events within a population over time. It depends on the geographic location, and among different demographic groups. Next, ano pa? We have also to investigate risks. Siyempre, kapag may risk, we have also factors. Okay. Through this investigation of risks and factors, okay, our epidemiologists now use to investigate the potential risks and factors or exposures, okay, or determinants that may influence the development or progression of disease in a certain community. Okay, we have also here assessing the casualty. Um, Take note, guys, okay? In assessing casualty, epidemiologic designs kasi provides methods for assessing casualty and determining the strength of association between exposure and outcomes, okay? By controlling for confounding variables and biases, epidemiologists infer causal relationship from observational studies or establish causality through experimental studies, okay? Next, we have also your evaluating of interventions. Now, epidemiologists now identify the patterns and trends. Also, they investigate now the risks and factors caused by disease in a certain communities. Also, they assess casualty. Now, they need to evaluate intervention. Okay? So, ano ba ang kayang gawin ng mga epidemiologists para po maayos yung isang problema or isang health phenomena sa isang community? Okay? And lastly, we have your monitoring the public health. Now, this is the last functions and importance of your epidemiological design. What is the purpose of epidemiologists that you are epidemiologists? Okay, so syempre, epidemiologists, they should monitor public health. Yun ang talagang trabaho nila. It's because we're public health. If we say public health, we tackles from the health of the community. And that's why these are all the important functions of your epidemiological design. We have your identification of pattern and trends. We have to investigate the risks and factors, assessing casualty, evaluating intervention, and number 5, your monitoring in your public health. Now, let's proceed. So, let's proceed now to the discussion. Okay, so epidemiology employs various study designs to investigate health-related phenomena. So understanding the epidemiologic approach and different types of the study designs is crucial for conducting rigorous research, okay, and drawing valid conclusions about the relationships between exposures and outcomes. So this module provides now a comprehensive overview of epidemiologic approaches and differentiates now between various types, designs based on their objectives, manipulation, variables, direction, and inquiry and assessment of time points. So what is an epidemiologic approach? Okay? Pag sinabi nating epidemiologic approach, it involves a systematically studying of distribution and determinants related to states or events in populations. Okay? We have here the key concepts of your epidemiologic approach. Number 1 includes your population perspective. Okay? Sinabi dito that your population perspective, epidemiology focuses on populations rather than individuals. Okay? Aiming to identify patterns and trends in a disease occurrence across different groups. Now, your population perspective now, this helps epidemiologists to identifying the patterns and trends of a certain disease, okay, in accordance with the variations in the occurrence of disease or health-related events within the population over time. Okay? So, pag sinabi natin population, is not just an individual, okay? It's a group, meaning maramihan po, okay? Maramihang grupo ng tao or community, okay? Next, we have also your observational nature. Kapag sinabi natin observational nature, okay, it is an epidemiologic studies who often involve observation, okay, rather than experimentation. So, syempre, pag sinabi natin observation, we use our eyes, okay? We use our eyes to observe a certain event or occasions, okay? Allowing now the researchers or the epidemiologists to assess, okay, the association between exposures and outcomes that naturally occur, okay? So, in your observational nature, epidemiological designs allow epidemiologists to investigate, okay? So, syempre, we observe, we characterize, okay? Meaning, we observe for potential risk factors or exposures for your determinants. Okay? Observe from the word observational. Next, we have also here your data collection. Now, we have been observed. Now, we collect data. Okay? We collect data. Now, epidemiologists now collect data through various methods, okay, including surveys, okay. Mostly, ginagamit naman talaga dyan is surveys, okay? We have also interviews, okay? Through interviews, makukuha natin or malalaman natin yung different opinions ng community about a certain health phenomena, okay? Medical records review, okay? So, syempre, kung anong mga medical records na meron sa mga hospitals, okay, kinukuha natin yan to collect data, to incorporate to our study, okay? And also biological sample analysis, okay? Take note, guys, that the sample of analysis is very important, okay? More especially in identifying causes of disease inside of our body. Okay? Yan ang data collection. We have also analysis. Okay? We have collected, we have observed. Okay? Now, we analyze. So, epidemiologic data are analyzed using statistical methods. Okay? We use statistical method now to assess the association, okay, between the data collected and and also to quantify the risk and identify the potential causal relationships between exposures and your outcomes. Okay? Tintindihan ba? Next, we have here chart for us to mas mapadali nating ma-distinguish or ma-analyze or malaman, okay, ang different epidemiological design. Now, I will draw here a chart. So, we have here your epidemiological study designs. Ma'am, sir, audible po ba ako? Hello? Okay po. Thank you, Doc. So we have here your epidemiological design. Now, your epidemiological design now encompasses your descriptive approach. And also with your analytical approach. Okay, kapag sinabi natin descriptive approach, okay, in epidemiological designs, this descriptive approach now focuses, okay, in characterizing the distribution of disease, okay? We identify here the patterns and trends to generate, okay, a hypothesis. Okay, pag sinabi nating descriptive, characterization. For us, okay, for us to generate our hypothesis. Okay. Now, sir, ano po yung mga epidemiological study designs under your descriptive approach? We have 3. Okay? We have 3. So we have here your number 1, your case report or series. We have also the cross-sectional or prevalence study. And lastly, we have here your ecology study. So here are your descriptive approach under your epidemiological study designs. Now, tapos na tayo sa descriptive approach. Now, in your descriptive approach, we generate your hypothesis. Okay? So naka-generate na tayo ng hypothesis, then ang gagawin natin, you generated the generated hypothesis now, okay, will be test through your analytical approach. Okay? So dito sa analytical approach, we test our hypothesis. Okay. So sa hypothesis, sa analytical approach, okay, unlike your descriptive approach, we are here to characterize, okay, the distribution of a certain disease or patterns. In your analytical approach naman, it involves now the testing of hypotheses, okay? And also, we have to examine the exposure, we have to examine here the relationships between exposure of variables and outcomes. Okay? So sa analytical, we have your variables, your X and Y. Okay. So under your X, okay, this is a factor that is observed under your analytical approach. And in your Y, this is factor that is assessed. So sir, ano po yung factor observed? Ano yung mga epidemiological study design that factor is observed? Number one is your cross-sectional. Number two, we have your cohort. And number three, we have your case control. Now, here in your factor observe, we now observe here, researchers or epidemiologists now observe the subjects without intervention or no manipulation. Next, we have also here your Y, your factor assessed. Under this, we have your epidemiological study designs, your RCT, and also your community trend. So this is a simple chart of your of our epidemiological design. Okay? Now let's proceed. Let's proceed muna dito sa descriptive approach or descriptive study designs. Okay? Pag sinabi nating descriptive study designs, descriptive study aims to characterize the distribution of disease within a population without exploring, okay, a causal relationships. So they provide valuable insights into disease patterns and serve as a basis for generating your hypothesis for further research. So the descriptive study designs include your number one is your case report and your case series. So epidemiological design involves the detailed description and analysis of one or more individuals with a particular disease or condition. So this often used to generate hypotheses or provide insights into a rare or unusual medical occurrence. Okay, mostly ginagamit ito ng mga epidemiologists, okay, dun sa mga rare cases na disease. Okay, sa mga rare cases na disease. So, case reports, okay, take note guys ha, case report is different from your case series, okay? Kapag sinabi natin case report, okay, pag sinabi natin case reports, it describes only a single patient, okay? Single patient meaning one person only, okay? While case series, it involves a small group of patients that have similar characteristics or outcomes. Meaning, kung si case report, single person or one person lang ang involved, sa case series naman is small group, meaning there is a two or more, okay, persons in a group. As long as these two or more persons, okay, have similar characteristics or outcomes of disease, meaning similar sila ng signs and symptoms, similar sila ng nararamdaman, okay, so that is your case series, okay? So the designs are valuable for identifying the rare disease o mga rare disease and unusual presentations of common diseases. Ganito lang yan mga moms. Pag sinabi natin case report and case series, okay? For example, example for parasite, okay? We know that your Entamoeba coli is a non-pathogenic amoeba, okay? Non-pathogenic meaning it is commensal. It doesn't gives you injury or it doesn't gives you disease. Now, si Entamoeba coli ngayon, infected ang isang person or isang group, small group of people. Okay, they are infected with your Entamoeba coli, and it is known as non-pathogenic. Hindi siya nakapag-cause ng disease. Now, in some cases or in rare cases, this Entamoeba coli now causes a severe diarrhea. Okay, severe vomiting, severe diarrhea, and severe stomach ache. Okay, so pwede nating ma-incorporate, okay, ang case report or case analysis sa health phenomena na ganito. Okay? We have also adverse reactions to treatments, okay, or novel therapeutic approaches. However, they are limited in their ability to establish causality or generalized finding to larger populations due to their observational nature and lack of control groups. Okay? Yan po. So, in simple term pa po, okay, kung marites ka, kung case report ang gagamitin mong design, epidemiological, marites ka, magre-report ka lang ng isang chismis ng isang tao. Okay? Magre-report ka lang, magchichismis ka lang ng isang, okay, chismis para sa isang tao. Okay? Doon lang, isang tao lang i-chismis mo. Doon naman sa case series, okay, marites ka, pero apat na tao ang imamarites mo. Apat na tao ang imamarites mo sa iba. Okay? You tell story to a group of people with have common issues, okay, or common patterns. Okay? So ganun po ang case series or case report. Ganun lang po siya kasimple. Now, we have here the objectives of your case report and your case series, okay? So, objective here, this is to describe a unique or unusual cases of disease. Lagi nating tatandaan, ma'am, sir, ha? Unique, okay? Unique or unusual cases of disease. Case report or case series po, yan. Presence of exposure or manipulation, no manipulation, okay, focuses on reporting observed cases, okay. Pag sinabi natin pong no manipulation, mga ma'am, sir, okay, we cannot make intervention or we cannot manipulate or we cannot, hindi natin pwedeng mabago, okay, ang report natin, hindi natin po pwedeng i-alter, okay, ang ang na-report, we cannot alter or exaggerate, okay, the facts, okay, that influence the outcomes, okay? So yun po ang meaning ng manipulation. Okay? So we have also direction of inquiry. Okay? Pag sinabi natin direction of your inquiry, it describes the clinical manifestation, also the demographics and outcomes of individual in a small groups. Okay? So syempre, si case report and your case series now, okay, defines the clinical manifestation of a certain health phenomena or disease in a certain community. Okay? We have also your demographics and also the outcomes of individual cases or small groups. We have also the assessment time points. Okay, in your assessment of time points, data collected at the time of case of identification or clinical encounter. Okay, so makakakolekta lang po tayo ng data, okay, when we encounter the clinical manifestation among the people or group of patients or in or one patient. Okay? So yan po ang assessment of time points natin. Next, we have also the second descriptive study approach. Okay? So this ecologic study design is a type of your epidemiology approach that examines the relationship, okay, between exposures and health outcomes. Okay? Kanina pa gasgas na gasgas ang word na exposure from and your outcomes. Can anyone differentiate me, okay, the meaning of exposure and outcomes? Meron po bang makaka-differentiate? Anyone in the group? Ma'am, sir? What is an exposure and an outcome? Ma'am Heidi Soriano.
Okay, exposure versus outcome. Ang exposure po refers to any factor that may be associated with outcome of interest. It is also called the predictor variable or independent variable. Ang outcome naman po refers to the variable that is studied to assess the impact of the exposure on the population.
Okay po, ma'am. Thank you, Ma'am Heidi. So tama po yun. Kapag sinabi natin exposure, okay, so this refers, okay, to the participants that are exposed, okay, to a such certain condition or environmental factor. Yun po yung sinabi ni Ma'am Heidi kanina. Now, sa exposure na yun, anong magiging outcome niya? So the outcomes now is the result, okay, of the exposure. Okay? Ano ba ang naging resulta, okay, no exposure niya? So that is the outcome. So they are interconnected with each other. Okay? So, instead of focusing on an individual level of data, okay, so ecologic studies now analyze data aggregated at the group or community level, such as your neighborhoods, okay, cities, and countries. Okay? So this study aims to identify the association between exposure such as your environmental factors, social determinants or policies, and health outcomes such as your disease incidence, mortality rates across different populations, and your geographic profiles. Okay, so in layman's term, in simpler terms, okay, so an ecologic study looks at a groups of people, okay, groups of people rather than individual, okay, to understand how certain a factor might affect their health or behavior. So it is like looking at the health of the entire communities or region to see if there is a pattern or trends between their health phenomena. Okay? So, yeah. So, what is the objective of your ecologic study? The objective of this is to examine the association between population level. Take note, guys, of the word population level, exposures, and outcomes. Okay? So, we have here also the presence of exposure and manipulation. So, gaya din po yan ni ni case report in your case series, no manipulation pa rin. Okay? It's because it examines exposure outcomes association of the group level. Okay? So, hindi nila pwedeng palitan or intervene ang nag-gather nilang results. Okay? No manipulation. Direction of inquiry. They investigate through correlations. Okay? So, they correlate between aggregate of exposure measures and disease rates. Okay? So, correlation, as Ma'am Sarah, correlation, they correlate, okay, their investigation in the exposure and outcomes or disease rates ng in a certain community or population. We have also assessment time points. So data collected at specific time of points for entire population of geographic areas. Okay? So hindi ka pwedeng pag data collect lang ng 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 ano to? Hindi ka pwedeng mag-collect ng data. Excuse me. Hindi ka pwedeng mag-collect ng data ng papunta-punta ka lang tapos mag-collect ka na. No. Okay? There's a specific time for that. Okay? There's specific time for that. Okay? Hindi siya flexible. Next, we have also cross-sectional. Okay? Your cross-sectional study is also called as your prevalence study. Okay? So it is an epidemiological design that examines the prevalence, okay, of a particular condition. Okay? That's why nasabi siyang prevalence study. It's because the main point here, we use this to know or to examine the prevalence of a certain health phenomena or condition in a certain community in a single point in time. Okay? From the word single point in time. Okay? So in this study, the data is collected from a sample of individuals from population of interest of both exposure and outcome are measured simultaneously. Okay? So in layman's term, or in simple term, okay, your cross-sectional, it is a live taking picture of a group of people at one specific moment to see what they're like and what type they are doing. So it helped now the epidemiologists or researchers to understand things like how common certain behaviors are interconnected. Okay? So ang objective natin in your cross-sectional study to estimate the prevalence of a disease and also to identify associated factors. Ito yung sinasabi ko, common certain behavior that are connected with a group of people. Okay? Next, we have also presence of exposure or manipulation. No manipulation. Okay? Assess exposure and outcome simultaneously. Take note guys ha, lahat ng ating descriptive approach epidemiology study designs, they don't use manipulation. No manipulation sa tatlong design na yan. Pakitandaan. Okay? So we have also the direction of inquiry. Okay? Examines association between exposure and disease prevalence a single point in time. Assessment time points, data collected through surveys, interviews at a specific time point pa rin. Okay? So we use surveys here and interviews. Next, we have also now your analytic study designs. So your analytic study designs studies investigate causal relationships and exposures and outcomes and rather further categorize into observational and experimental designs. Now, we have here your first observational we have here first your observational study designs. Okay? Number one is your cross-sectional study. Okay? So, na-encounter na din natin siya dun sa inyong, na-encounter na din natin siya sa inyong, okay? Sa descriptive approach. Okay? Now, meron naman po siya sa analytic designs under your observational study. Your cross-sectional, researchers analyze data at a single point in time to examine associations between exposures and outcomes within a population. So while they are analytical in nature, because they involve analysis of data. Okay? So kung dun sa observation, dun sa descriptive approach, ang cross-sectional study dun is just to characterize, okay, the conditions and the health phenomena in the community. Okay? They just characterize, but they don't analyze. Dito naman sa analytic designs under observational approach, they characterize the study, okay, and also they analyze the data collected for them to draw conclusions, okay? So we have your cross-sectional studies also primarily focuses on the prevalence and the distribution of health-related factors rather than establishing causality or examining temporal relationships, okay? So we have here the objectives again, okay? So objectives ng cross-sectional study, this is used to associate the association between exposure and outcome of prevalence. Okay, so parehas lang din siya dun sa may descriptive approach. Okay, so presence of manipulation, no pa rin po. It's because under observational. Okay, nag-o-observe pa rin tayo dyan. Okay, direction of inquiry examines association between exposure and disease prevalence at a single point in time. Assessment of time points. So data are collected again through surveys, interviews at a specific time point. Okay? Parehas lang din po dun sa may descriptive approach. Okay? Next, we have here your cohort study. Okay? Pag sinabi natin cohort study, it is a type of analytical epidemiological design that follows a group of individuals or cohort, okay, over time to investigate the relationship between exposure to certain factors and development of outcomes to certain diseases. Okay, in cohort studies, okay, participants now are initially classified based on their exposure status. So this is an example of your exposed versus to your unexposed. Okay, and then followed by prospectively assessed to the occurrence of outcomes interest. Okay, so cohort studies are valuable in assessing the temporal relationships between exposures and outcomes. So we estimate here the incidence of the disease or the outcomes of the disease. And also we identify here the potential risk factors or protective factors. So they allow the calculation of the relative risk ratios that can provide strong evidence of causality when well-designed and properly conducted. However, cohort studies can be resource-intensive and time-consuming. Okay, so matagal po siya. Okay? And also, marami po tayong resources na kailangang gamitin dito. Okay? So, especially prospective cohort studies that require long-term follow-up. Okay? Masyado po itong time-consuming. So, this kind of your epidemiological design is time-consuming. Matagal siya. Okay? So, we need for a follow-up per term. Okay? So, overall, cohort studies are considered as the most, pakitandaan, the most powerful study designs for investigating the etiology of disease and identifying factors that influence health outcomes. Okay? Health outcomes. Now, we have here the objective. The objective of your cohort study is used to evaluate the relationship between exposure and subsequent development of a disease. So, presence of manipulation, no manipulation pa rin, it's because under observational, under characterization of health phenomena. It just follow-ups exposed and unexposed individual over time. Okay? So, direction of inquiry investigates whether exposure precedes and predicts disease occurrence to those unexposed individuals. Okay? So, assessment of time points, baseline data collection followed by periodic assessment. Okay? Kaya po siya nagiging time-consuming ang data collection niya. Okay? Masyadong matagal. Kasi there is a periodic assessment here. Next, we have your last observational under your analytical study. We have your case control study. Okay, pag sinabi natin case control study, it is a case control study is an analytical epidemiological design that compares individual with a particular outcome or disease or cases to those without outcome or controls to identify potential risks or causes of the disease. So in case control study, researchers now start by identifying individuals who have an outcome of interest or cases and individuals without outcome or your controls. So it's between your cases and your control. Okay? So the researchers then now retrospectively, okay, collect information on exposure history of a potential factors from both groups to compare frequency of exposure between cases and controls. Okay? By comparing the odds of exposure between cases and controls, researchers now estimate the strength of association between exposure and outcome. So case controls now are studies that particularly useful for the investigation of rare diseases and outcomes. So studying diseases with long latency periods and exploring multiple potential risk factors simultaneously. Okay, so like your case report in your case series, okay, this case control study also is useful for investigation of rare diseases. Okay, so they are relatively efficient and cost effective compared to your cohort study. That's why um, mas ginagamit si case control study kaysa kay cohort study. Okay? However, case control studies are susceptible to recall bias. Okay? It's because participants may have difficulty accurately recalling past exposures and selection of bias. The selection cases and controls may not be representative of the population, which researchers now must carefully address through study design and analysis techniques. So overall, your case control studies provides a valuable evidence for identifying risk factors and generating hypotheses about etiology of diseases, but they cannot establish causality on their own. So they are often used for conjunction with other studies such as your cohort. Okay? So pwedeng i-junction natin ang case control analysis or study sa cohort. Okay? An experimental study. Okay? Like your RCT and also your community trend approaches. Okay? To strengthen causal inference and provide more comprehensive understanding of disease etiology. Okay? So what is the objective of your case control study? So this is to compare exposure history of individuals without the outcome. Okay? Presence of manipulation, no manipulation kasi syempre under observation pa rin siya. And selects cases and controls based on their outcome status. Direction of inquiry, they assess whether exposures differs from between cases and controls. Okay? We have also assessment time points, retrospective data collection on exposure history. Next, we have here your last, okay? We have here your last, your experimental studies under your analytic study approach, okay? Number one is your randomized controlled trial or your RCT, okay? So it is an experimental epidemiological design, okay? In RCT, participants are randomly assigned to different groups, okay? So the epidemiologists now, okay, magkakalat sila yan. Okay? So they don't have initial overview kung saan po sila kung anong experiment ang gagamitin nila diyan. Okay? So the intervention group here which receives the treatment or intervention being tested and control group, okay, which either receives placebo or standard treatment or no treatment. Take note guys, this is an experimental. Okay? Meaning, we test here, treatments and also your controls. Okay? So, syempre, kapag experimental, we should have the treatments and controls. Okay? Importante lalo si controls. Okay? So, the random assignment helps to minimize selection bias to ensure that the difference in outcomes between the groups can be attributed to the intervention being studied. So, your RCTs are considered as the gold standard, pakitandaan po, for evaluation of the effectiveness of interventions such as new drugs, therapies, and preventive measures because this allows the researchers or the epidemiologists to establish causality by controlling co-founding variables and biases. Okay? They know guys, hindi kaya nung dun sa may observational natin, pwedeng magkakaroon pa rin ng biases dyan. But not in experimental because this is science. Okay? We cannot question science. Okay? So, siyempre, walang bias dyan. So, by comparing the outcomes between intervention and control groups, researchers can now assess the efficacy and safety of intervention under investigation. Okay? Your RCTs now are typically conducted in phases starting phase 1 trials, okay, to assess safety, followed by phase 2 trials to evaluate efficacy in a small group of participants, and the phase 3 trials now as a confirmatory or to confirm efficacy and monitor for adverse effect in a larger or more diverse population. Now, the phase 4 trials now also known as the post-marketing surveillance. This may be conducted after the treatment, okay? After the treatment or intervention has been approved or used further evaluate its long-term effects and safety to a real-world setting. Overall, your RCTs are critical in advancing evidence-based medicine and informing clinical practice guidelines by providing high-quality evidence about the effectiveness of interventions in improving health outcomes. So, what is the objective of your randomized controlled trial? This is to assess causal effect, okay, and intervention on health outcomes. Presence of exposure manipulation, yes. It's because it's experimental. Okay? So, it's experimental. Now, kapag nakapag-collect tayo ng data, we can, okay, manipulate or we can, we can use intervention here. That's why manipulation is present. Okay? Manipulation is present. So direction of inquiry examines whether the intervention influenced the occurrence of an outcome. Assessment of time, baseline data collection followed by intervention implementation and outcome assessment. Okay? Through your baseline data collection, we use experimental. Okay? Followed by intervention. Okay? And also, after we use the intervention, we are now to assess the outcome. Okay? For us to collect the data. Next, we have here your last, okay? Your last is your community trial. Ay, trend yung nilagay ko. I'm so sorry. This is trial po, hindi po trend. Sorry po, ma'am, sir. So your community trial now is also known as the community intervention trial. So, or a community-based trial. So it is an experimental epidemiological design that evaluates now the effectiveness, okay, of interventions in the community or population level. So unlike your randomized controlled trials, okay, which typically focus on individual levels, okay, community trials aim to implement and evaluate interventions to target entire communities or populations, okay? So in community trial, researchers or epidemiologists now assign communities or geographic areas or clusters to receive different interventions or control conditions or control conditions. So interventions now may include the health promotion programs policy, changes, environmental modifications, or community-wide initiatives aimed improving health outcomes or preventing diseases. Okay, so community trials often involve collaboration with different researchers, community organization, health providers, and local stakeholders to design and implement interventions that are culturally appropriate and address the specific needs of the community. Okay, so there is an involvement of the community into the researchers, okay, in the process. Community trials enhance now the intervention and uptake sustainable and effectiveness. Community trials are valuable in evaluating impact of interventions on population health outcomes, reducing now health disparities and informing public health policy and practice. So they can also provide valuable insights into effectiveness of community level interventions in a real world settings and help identification of strategies in promoting health and prevention of disease to the population level. However, community trials are also present in unique challenges such as ensuring community engagement, okay, and also participation, addressing logistical and ethical considerations. This is very important, and also measuring outcomes of community level. So despite of these challenges, community trials plays a crucial role in advancing evidence-based public health interventions and improving population health. So what is the objectives of your community trial? To evaluate the impact of interventions implemented by community level. Okay, presence of exposure? Yes, of course. That is experimental. So, syempre, there is manipulation. There is an intervention. Okay? So, direct inquiry assess whether community level interventions affect the health population outcomes. Assessment of time points, baseline data collection by intervention implementation, and outcome assessment at the community level. Okay? Summary of our topic today. Understanding the epidemiologic designs is essential for designing, for implementing, and for interpretation of research findings in public health and clinical settings. So descriptive studies now provides, okay, insights into disease distribution, while analytic studies now elucidate causal relationships between exposures and outcomes. So by mastering these characteristics and applications and different study designs, researchers can now and epidemiologists can now conduct rigorous epidemiological investigations and contribute to evidence-based decision making in healthcare and in public health practice. The end. Thank you.